You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means it is time once again to commence our broadcast week here on the old OIRN. Time to kick things off with the first taste, the first helping of your bi-weekly options extravaganza known as the Option Block. My name is Mark Longo from the aforementioned network, as well as, of course, from the ever-exciting The Options Insider. Earnings, move results, earnings season reports, all the latest data available for you folks in your hot little hands. You know where to find it. Just click on the Options News and Articles tab there. Of course, while you're there, you can check out all the archives for all of our shows, going back to the primordial ooze days of the network and indeed of podcasting. Kicking things off way back in January of 2007, pre-iTunes, pre-iPhone, definitely, if you can believe it out there. It's all sorts of fun there. And of course, if you want to go above and beyond, join our fun secret club. Good time to be in it. About to make our drawing here for the October Options Insider Trading Crate. That's coming up in a few minutes here. But of course, if you want to go above and beyond, join the folks in there. TheOptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go. You can join us throughout the week in the live. Of course, get great pro Q&A coming up tomorrow, as well as options oddities on Friday and all sorts of other fun stuff like the Pro Trading Crate giveaway, which my staff hates and drives them crazy and is expensive, but is fun. We like doing it for you folks. I think I'm the only one here who likes it. Everyone else is like, why do you make us do this? But hey, it's for you folks at the end of the day. That's why we do it all. And you know, we're just coming off the heels of a fun Halloween here. It's still that spooky season. For me, it's always spooky season. Halloween, my favorite holiday of the year. But we like to kick off the network in style with our Name That 80s Wrestler game. So we thought we'd keep it in the theme. We thought we'd go spooky to kick this one off. And this, if you think spooky gimmicks, this is probably at the top of the list. This guy is probably also at the top of the list for greatest gimmicks of all time. Some might say the greatest wrestler of all time. This guy has been there and done it all. He wrestled literally in the 80s. It was kind of the nascent beginning of his period. Then all the way through the 90s, through the 2000s with your Stone Colds and all that stuff. Even into the modern era with your Brocks and your Romans and all that stuff. So this guy has been there, seen it all, done it all. Legend in the game. And can you guess our 80s wrestler for spooky season here today, listeners? That probably gives you a taste of, we could go on for ages. It's a very slow entrance. He comes out, when that bell hits, people just lose their freaking minds when this guy is coming out. He's one of the few ones, my little guy was really into wrestling. We went to see a lot of the big names out there. He's one of the few we never got to see live. And that would have been cool to be there for that entrance with, I won't say what the entrance is, but the bells. By the way, we had people in our chat guessing earlier, Nichols and others. They were just throwing out Iron Sheik just for fun. They wanted Iron Sheik. We already did Iron Sheik, guys. So I will give you that hint. That is definitely not the Iron Sheik. But let's go around the horn. Let's see. Who should I get to pick this one first? Should we go the reigning, defending? Both of them should get this. It's just a question of who do I want to let have the first crack at it. Since he is the reigning and defending, we know he's going to get it. Let's go on out now instead. Let's try to make it even Steven a little bit. Let's go on out there to the heart, deep in the heart of Texas, where we are joined once again by the greasiest of meatballs, Mr. Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com, who I do believe may be a neighbor of this person now in real life. Mr. Meatball, A, welcome back to the program, and B, can you name this, perhaps, some might argue, the greatest wrestler of all time, sir?
Yeah, I can. He lives in Austin. His name is Mark, just like the Meatball. And he likes to hang out with people named Paul, sometimes Buddy Love, who loves you. It is, in fact, The Undertaker.
The Undertaker. Yes. This guy just retired, 6 months ago? He made a big Jordan-esque thing out of it. They had the last ride, the last dance. In fact, just now on Netflix for Halloween, they put out a interactive movie with him on Netflix. You could choose your own adventure to escape the Undertaker's house. So this guy's still very much a presence. Hard to believe he was there in the early days with Hogan and Warriors. He was in the ring with those guys. That's crazy. But that's how long this guy's career spanned. To talk about, and most of that time with this same gimmick. So I think gimmick-wise, you could probably argue it is up there with the greatest of all time. It's just, it's crazy. I mean, he did change it a few times, but he mostly was this guy. As we go on out now to Uncle Mike, I could hear you very angry, of course, that you did not get a chance to go first. But, you are the reigning and defending champ. I have to let someone else come at the throne every now and then. To be the man, you got to beat the man, said Ric Flair. So, Mr. Uncle Mike, A, welcome back to the program, and B, I won't even insult you by asking you if you knew that. So instead, what are your enduring memories of Mr. Taker, sir?
Undertaker! I really got a kick out of his manager, Paul Bearer. That was always my favorite thing. That guy, I don't give me much respect to the Undertaker, but that manager, holy cow, that guy played the part so well with how creepy he was. And he was an amazing manager with what he did and how he did it. That was probably my favorite part of The Undertaker. And I remember he seemed like he was kind of like a B card guy when in his debut, but he got really popular quick. And he was never really at any one point at the level of like a Hogan or a Flair, but he was always right up there. And so he was very impressive how he had that longevity and that stability. I don't know if he ever left the WWE from the time he started in the late 80s. So a lot of respect for the guy. He's a great wrestler. And I think my favorite memory of him was when him and the Ultimate Warrior were actually feuding. And he locked the Ultimate Warrior in a coffin, and the Warrior ultimately got out.
Yes.
And they just showed all the scratching, how he tried to scratch his way out of the coffin. That was probably one of my favorites.
I saw behind the scenes things about that, and Ultimate Warrior is my favorite guy, but behind the scenes, he was not a very well-liked guy. I think he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And so that was Paul Bearer actually went out. He was a real Undertaker, actually, Paul Bearer. He got a real coffin, and they put him in it, and those things actually lock. And apparently they took their time, shall we say, with getting the key to actually let Ultimate Warrior out because no one liked him. So they let him be trapped in the casket for a while. So maybe some of those scratches were real, Mr. Uncle Mike. So there we go. A little bit of a peek behind the scenes into the gimmick land. Yes, The Undertaker. Perhaps, I will say, people have always said to me, you got to watch Taker versus Shawn Michaels, the greatest wrestling match of all time. I thought, that's idiotic. How could it be? And I went and watched it not that long ago, me and my little guy. And I was like, you know what? It's pretty damn good. It might be up there. Big guy like that, you didn't think he could move like that, but he could. So it was very impressive. And Mr. Uncle Mike, I will give you really quickly here at the top of the show before we dive in, because we have some other business to take care of. I will give you a consolation prize. I didn't let you guess first. It is that time now. It is beginning of November 1st. So we have to go back and pick our winner of our pro trading crate for the month of October. Remember, everybody who was in the pro gets a swing at the fence at this one. So if you were in the pro active sometime during the month of October, you are on the list. Mr. Uncle Mike, I will get my random number generator queued up. When I tell you, I'm going to hit the button to start it flapping and flipping. And then when you tell me to stop, I will hit the stop button and we will see who that corresponds to. So you get to pick the winner. Are you ready, Uncle Mike?
I am ready.
All right, here we go. Let me get it set up here. All right, there we go. Everyone in the chat, cross your fingers. And if you listen after the fact, you too. Maybe you could win. We'll see. All right, here we go. I'll say 3, 2, 1. All right, it's start. It's going. It's flashing. Tell me when to stop, Uncle Mike. Stop. Oh, okay, there we go. I did it. All right, here we go. All right, this number here. Who does this correspond to? Let's see. Ooh. One of our chat favorites here, one of our chat friend, Mr. Nichols. Look at you winning the pro trading crate. We're going to put something fun and extra in there just for you. I can see there's a whole stack of stuff. Everyone's telling me you got to get the stuff out of the studio. Studio's overflowing with stuff. There's some cool stuff here. Trust me, you're going to love it. So well done. Our producers will follow up with you, Mr. Nichols. You know what you got to give them. You get your choice of educational material. Mr. Meatball's book is one of your choices. You can choose that. You can choose Mr. Overbees, a bunch of other fun, great educational items, as well as we need your shirt size for your exclusive Options Insider gear. The rest of the stuff is up to us. So it'll be all sorts of, each one is different. Each one is bespoke. Some of you have been waiting for a while. You got yours. Hopefully, if not, hit us up. Let us know. We had to wait a little bit. Some people were slow, shall we say, in getting us their required information. I think we have that from everybody now. So if a past winner hasn't received it yet, you should be getting it soon. All right, then, here we go now into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we kick off with what the heck is trading. Man, a weird day out there. Coming into showtime, it seemed like the markets were heading for a mixed day. Most of the indices were up slightly. S&P was actually off slightly to start the day. Now, as we come into showtime, we see the S&P back in the green, up about 0.15%. The Dow up about 0.25%, and the NASDAQ up about 0.5%. Of course, when we kicked off the show, VIX was flirting with a 17 handle. That puts it up about 0.75 point from where it was on Thursday's show. So getting some of that weekend plus, little that Halloween juice back in there. VVIX is at about a 109. It's up about 2.5 points from where it was this time last week. VXX, 21.5. That's up about a quarter. So pretty much unched from where it was this time last week. UVXY, 1670. So actually up nearly 0.5 point, getting some juice back finally in UVXY. And VolQ holding out at about a 16. It's up about 0.75 point as well. Let's go back around the horn. Let's go back out to the land of the Undertaker, a.k.a. Austin. He was in Austin before it was cool. Now everybody's flying. It's like the trendy place to be. I won't say who. But Mr. Meatball, if you have any enduring thoughts of Mr. Taker, have at it. And then B, what's lighting up your tape today, sir?
I mean, Undertaker's match with Mankind when the cage.
Oh, the Hell in the Cell, the first one, yes,
is one of the most phenomenal matches you're ever going to watch. I mean, the brutality that they were willing to do in order to put on a good show just is, unbelievable.
That Mankind guy would abuse himself in the name of wrestling. He had a
Mick
problem.
Foley is a very tough guy. Hats off to Mick Foley. Yeah, wow. So the market, they tried to sell it off. Now it's rallying again. Vol is coming off. A lot of the mega caps are weak, while, some of the names that were hot were weak. But you're seeing a lot of strength in EV and clean energy with what's going on in Europe with that G20 summit. You're seeing some strength in, they cut a deal to allow traders to steel to be manufactured and shipped across Europe. That's a big deal. Market as a whole, yeah, it's pretty strong. Most of the sectors are up. The only one that's down is information technology, and that's because, Apple and Amazon, some of those names are softer today.
I mean, tech can go down. I didn't think that was possible in this modern era. All right, let's go on out now to not the land of Austin, but instead to a sleepy town on the river here outside of Chicago. Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you. Outside of the ones you just mentioned, do you have any enduring memories of Taker? Have you seen any of those legendary matches, the Hell in a Cell with Mankind or the legendary battle with Shawn Michaels? And then B, what else is lighting up your tape out there today, sir?
Yeah, Mankind, he's just on a whole nother level. Dude Love, Mankind, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, they're all good. Only one guy, though. So that guy's just on that. Go on for a long time about him. Any match he's involved in is amazing. But yeah, The Undertaker, much respect. Definitely Hall of Fame worthy with everything that he does. And he's definitely on my top 5 list as one of the all-time greats. But with this market, I'm not going to go with my trademark line today for all-time highs, even though I could, in theory, say it, or I could have said earlier today. It's not strong enough. I'm not feeling it today. But with that being said, some things that I'm seeing is that this market is showing its resilience in that we had the market did not like the news from Apple and Amazon last week. It did not react well to it. The stocks didn't react well to it. And so, but on here, market's still kind of just puttering around near the all-time highs. We didn't have a pullback from it, but we're not having a big rally from it either. But it didn't give it any reason to rally on it. 10-year note, it's selling off a little bit today, not a lot, but it has kind of stabilized at the levels with which it's at right now. And then we have a little bit of a bid being caught in the energy stocks. XLE is up roughly $1 on the day at the 58 level. So we are seeing that. And then just overall, this is a relatively flat market in terms of the S&P 500. We have technology bringing it down while energy is bringing it up, along with some other things that are up a little bit. And so when you mix it all together, you get a whopping 4-point rally on the day for the S&P 500. So that's kind of where it's at this stage. I think this week, what we're going to be looking to is the Fed speaking this week and seeing if they have any information that they're going to do to move the market in any way, shape, or form, which they definitely have power to do. And we'll see from there which way this market wants to go, at least in the near term. Right now, I'm thinking that we are close to all-time highs, and the fact that we're past and I'm doing air quotes now, bad news from Apple and Amazon, and we're still near the all-time highs, I do think that does bode well for the bulls of this market, and we'll see where it goes. The other point of note is that we do still have a VIX in the mid-16s, so we're still nowhere near the single digits where we were a couple of years ago, or where we're at the 9, 10, 11 VIX consistently. It's definitely higher. So there's still a lot more long premium out there, and still a lot of protection being bought based on that number. So that is what I am seeing.
Thank you for that. Mr. Taker TOSAW over there. Nichols, he's celebrating in the chat. He's very excited. He says, woohoo, I'm finally a winner. I can tell all of my friends. They will be jealous. Nichols, all you pro members are all winners to us. You're all winners, but I am glad you're excited. You're going to get some fun stuff in there. Don't worry. I'm looking at all this stuff right now. So there's definitely going to be cool. There's some of the stuff these firms do not exist. You cannot get this anymore. We have emptied our vault for you folks. It is extensive. The things we have in there. I was even like, wow, we have this. So it's all kinds of cool stuff that's going to find its way to someone's door. In this case, this month, it's going to be Mr. Nichols. Congratulations. I see you in there, Mr. Unlimited. Don't worry. Everyone gets their spin at the wheel every month out there. Him calling me Jordan in our last dance debate did not weigh upon it whatsoever. It just shows that, once again, he's a very intelligent person out there. All right, let's keep on rolling here. Let's see what's lighting it up out there in today's action. Not a rock'em sock'em robots day by any means, but some paper on the tape. Kind of depends where you're looking. VIX is not one of those places. 170,000 contracts only for VIX. The ADV tilting back towards 400K, down to about 417 right now. SPY at about 2.65 million. So kind of hanging out where it normally is this time of day. Not busy, not light, just kind of doing its thing. ADV 5.13 million. The S though, a little bit more paper, closing in on 1 million contracts, 911,000 right now. That's pretty rich for the S. So something is afoot out there. The ADV is 1.6 million. The Q's kind of the laggard today, only 740,000 contracts on the tape out there. So a decent amount of paper out there, all things considered. In good old Q's ADV, like I said, 1.6 million. You know where there is some paper right now, though, listeners? And I had to pull this up twice just to make sure this was correct. Small caps, IWM, right now, 1.01, just ticked 1.02 million contracts on the tape right now. That's nearly double its ADV. You know, IDM's usually hanging out around 260, maybe 300 something thousand if it's a really busy day right now. So to see over 3x that on the tape, man, something is afoot out there in good old small caps out there today. It's up 2.3%. So we're seeing a nice rally in small caps. Is that enough to account for this? It could very well be. There's some paper afoot here this week. So I look forward to sinking our teeth into more of this later on this week on Thursday on TWIFO, where we get into all things, not just IDOM, but RUT and all the other good stuff over the ADV is 564. I got a feeling that's going to be ticking up after today's activity. And let's get on out to the most actives. You know, this has kind of been the weird part of the market for a while. What's actually popping in here? Let's see if some weird names are going to be making it today. Cost you 282,000 contracts to break into the top 10 right now. That's nothing to sneeze at, listeners. You're closing in on 300K to break into the top 10. That's a pretty busy day. That gets you all the way to NVIDIA. Again, it's a day that ends in Y, and NVIDIA's, as long as this chip shortage is lurking, NVIDIA is going to be in there in some capacity. Number 9, NIO. They were strangely absent during the earlier boom of Tesla and Lucid and everything else. It was all EVs all the time, except for NIO, which they're normally in the top 10 in any given day. So that was kind of strange, but they're back in it today for 284,000. Number 8 and 7, anyone who gets on me about my jokes about the symbol twins out there, I defy you. I defy you to explain why these two are so inextricably linked from a volume perspective, except for the fact that someone's maybe looking for AMD and getting AMC or vice versa. There's obviously some symbol confusion amongst the two, because once again, they are lockstep, the two of them. AMC number 8, 327,000. AMD number 7, 337,000. I defy you. Someone is typing the wrong thing into their broker, and they're saying, oh, you know, while I'm here, maybe I will sling some AMC/D. Either way, the symbol twins at number 8 and number 7. Number 6, SoFi. Still hanging out in our top 10 today. Number 6, 356,000. Number 5, Lucid was blowing the doors off on Thursday's show, was closing in on 2 million contracts. Not quite there today, but still very impressive. 446,000 contracts at number 5. Number 4, it's the on-again, off-again meme name known as Ford. 467,000 contracts on the tape for Ford. Number 3, Facebook, or whatever the hell they're calling themselves now. 492,000 contracts. Number 2, yes, number 2, it is Apple, that fruit company, not getting the love out there today. Only a paltry 766,000 contracts on the tape. That's pretty much a rounding error for them. That means number 1 is the big dog, Tesla, once again on fire. Man, just broke through 1,000, a session or two ago? Now it's already at 1175, up another 61 points today. My goodness, that's yeah, climate change time is probably a time people are going to be looking at greener names like Tesla. So makes sense why they would be moving. And it's also earnings season. Makes sense why other things are moving as well. Another hot and heavy week for us listeners. Today we got CNA. They're right down the street here as well. A lot of big companies right down the street here from the studio. And Clorox. They're not down the street, but they are popping off today. Tomorrow we got Pfizer, BP, Under Armour, and Activision Blizzard in the gaming side. They've had some bad headlines of late. We'll see how that impacts them. And Lyft, the other side of the Uber battle there. Wednesday, CVS, we got Norwegian Cruise Lines, Cedar Fair, so the owners of Cedar Point and all that stuff, I do believe. Roku, Qualcomm, Etsy, Electronic Arts, a lot of gaming names on Wednesday. Thursday, Moderna, we got Viacom, Pinterest, Uber, Airbnb, Peloton. Oh, and appropriately enough for this show, WWE also on Thursday. Friday, DraftKings and Coinbase. So Friday, not a sleeper name either. Let's see if we got any before the bell interesting names. Now, looks like a bunch of some tickers you guys don't normally trade. So we'll slide past the earnings move results report. You can see it for yourself out there today, listeners. Let's catch up on the season. Week 1, 107%. Rock'em Sock'em Robots week. Week 2, 59%. It got rounded up, though. It was 55%. So Not quite as bad as it seemed, but still pretty darn bad. Week 3 kind of splitting the difference, 86%. That's outside of week 1. That is actually a really good week. That's one of the best weeks we've seen in a long time. So week 3 was a very active week. 343 names reporting and 86%. That's something we have not seen in quite some time. In terms of what's popping off this week, let's look at a few of them. Clorox, is there some bleach vol? Let's find out. They're popping off today after the bell. 163 exactly is where they were trading. They're pricing in 707. In the past, they moved 735. So bleach vol, perhaps juicier than you might think, but a little bit lighter than it has performed in the past. Under Armour out there, November 2nd, 1887 is where they were trading. $1.76 is what they're pricing in. In the past, they've moved to $1.80. So they're pretty much right in line with what they have going on out there. Let's go out now to Activision Blizzard. The second after the bell, 78.20 is where they were trading. 416 is what they were pricing in. In the past, they moved 352. So extra juice. Probably some of these negative headlines probably feeding into that. They've been the site of some pretty nasty labor allegations and lawsuits and everything else. So, yeah, interesting stuff afoot over there. LYFT on the second after the bell as well. 45.87 is where they were trading. They're pricing in $3.50. They moved 366 in the past. So not a heck of a lot of difference there for LYFT. CVS on the third before the bell, 89.25 is where they were trading. 344 is what they were pricing in the past. They moved 390. So that's actually pretty light out there for good old CVS. Back out to gaming, Electronic Arts, November 3rd after the bell. 140.25 is where they were trading. They're pricing in 727. In the past, they moved 533. So maybe there's just more juice in the gaming sector across the board. I know they're still delaying a lot of things, a lot of major titles. So maybe that uncertainty due to COVID is part of what's driving. Also, though, I think demand for these consoles and games and everything else is through the roof. So interesting back and forth out there. Qualcomm, speaking of consoles and chips and all that fun stuff, November 3rd after the bell, 133 is where they were trading. They're pricing in 660. In the past, they moved 747. So nearly $1 less vol in Qualcomm. That's interesting. That's not what I expected. And Roku, they were for a while, you remember, listeners, pretty much until the pandemic, they were kind of a perennial top 10er. Then the pandemic kind of pushed a lot of other things into the front, and Roku kind of fell off our top 10. But they were a very active, very volatile name. November 3rd after the bell, they were trading at about 305. They were pricing in $26.75. In the past, they moved, oh my goodness, $42. Wow. So they have taken a lot of juice off the top here in Roku. Wow. That's a lot. That's something I need to dive into a little bit further. Is that merited? Is that warranted? I suppose we shall find out as we keep on rolling. It's time to find out what the Eye of Sauron has its eye on. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right there. Welcome to the Odd Block, the portion of the show where we get weird, we get wild, we get whimsical. Mr. Nichols is asking if he gets any Shiba in his trading crate. No, there's no crypto in your trading crate. Maybe if we launch our Options Insider coin, what do you think? Then maybe we'll include a little bit of that in there. But unfortunately, no Shiba Inu for you right now. Instead, let's go on out to the weird, the wild, the wonderful, and see what our Eye of Sauron has found for us to parse and analyze today. Let's go a little bit above and beyond. Let's go to some names we have not talked about here. Maybe ever. I don't recall this name. This is Hecla Mining Company, ticker symbol HL. Gold and silver and other precious metals mining company based out of Idaho. Founded in 1891. So quite the legacy there for Hecla Mining Company. Ticker symbol HL. Trading right now at $6. And it's had an interesting year, kind of like the metals did. Obviously, they were trading $4.85 a year ago, and they kind of popped up to almost $7 in January. Ironically, on January 6th, I wonder what could have driven interest in precious metals on that day. Oh, I wonder. And then it sold off quite a bit by, let's see, where do we get here? By January 27th, it was back down to $4.80, so it lost over $2 in the span of that month. Then it rallied again by, let's see, February 1st up to $7.30, so it got higher. and then it sold off again. This thing's had a few fits and starts, sold off again to about, looks like 566, then back up in late February to 736, then back down again. Did this multiple times. And then by the time April came around, it was hovering right a little bit shy of the $6 level, 591. And then it rallied hard. Then it had its big move for the year, which undoubtedly corresponds with gold and everything else getting to the close to 2,000 level. Let's see, June 2nd, this one hit its apex of $9.44 out there. And then it kind of almost immediately sold off again. By June 18th, it was trading $7.50. By August 20th, it was trading $5.50. And it's kind of been in this range ever since, 5.5 up to about 6.5, and then back down again, or a little bit north of 6. It's done that run a few times since July, but never quite made those lofty levels again. So we're kind of hanging out here right now, around $6 in Hecla mining. Let's see what our Eye of Sauron found. You know what? It looks like someone thinks that the good times are not over yet. In fact, looks like they think the good times are coming back fairly soon. Someone coming in for size. Let's go pull up what the ADV is out there in good old HL. The ADV actually is more than you might think. 9,400 contracts. I was thinking it was like 3,000, 2,500. So a little bit more than you might think. Doing more than that today. Doing 22,000 contracts today. And of that 9,400, got a trade today of 9,300. 9,304 to be precise. Of the Nove 6/2 hitting the tape. Lifting the offer for 12 cents. Let's see. This is a 61, almost a 62 vol. These were surprisingly tight. These were 11 cents at 12, which kind of makes me wonder if there were other things. These were kind of trading throughout the day, but this was the big print, 9,300. More of them have gone up since, a total of 13,000 since we've started talking about this. Let's see. Yeah, how much total? Oh, yeah, almost 14,000. On the day here. So pretty decent paper. All the rest kind of coming up in smaller chunks, 500, 200, 200, 300, but pretty active throughout the day. A lot of action in these Nove 6/2. There are earnings, if you are wondering, listeners, between now and November. So that might explain some of the interest, some of the love in these. Earnings are on November 4th. So just in a few days, we shall see if this guy or gal is on the right side of history. Here, Mr. Meatball. I know you're not as big on the mining and resources as your compatriot, the Rock Lobster, is, but somebody is piling in for size in Hecla mining, and they want something to happen really soon. What say you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, the whole mining sector is hot. This is a relatively inexpensive stock. They got earnings coming up after the bell. It's really pretty active today, and they're buying in the weeklies, they're buying in the monthlies. This is a pretty big order, pretty low dollar bet on Hecla blowing higher. Interesting tidbit. Hecla is where the inspiration from Kukla, Fran, and Ali came from. I don't know if you knew that, Mark.
I did not, sir. That seems like an odd point, but hey, I will allow it out there. So has this been on your Gamdar at all?
You know what? It popped on today, believe it or not. A bunch of the mining names have popped on and are inexpensive. And it is. So it's really kind of fascinating, the move this one's making today. And, if you look at the range here, this has not been much above $6 very often. So for Hecla to make that move, you'd be looking at the last time, in September, it got up to 653. That was the high. Has not really been above 650 since July. So I don't know, something to keep an eye on here, folks.
I think we're lighting up the Gamdar. We're lighting up the Gamdar there in the land of the pit. You know it's sassy. You know it's sexy when the Meatball's referencing 60-year-old puppet shows. Let's keep on rolling here into our next thing. Let's flip the script. We're talking nearer term swing for the fences to the upside. Let's now go longer term, and maybe not a heck of a lot's going to happen. Let's find out. Another newcomer here on our odd block. Again, this is kind of going back to what we were just talking about, metals and mining, hot thing today. This is Ferroglobe PLC, ticker symbol GSM. Trading right now, $7. I do believe they are a newcomer here to the odd block, even though this ticker sounds familiar. 704 is where they are trading right now. They've had a nice run. A year ago, this name was trading 61 cents, listeners. My goodness, this thing has moved. You could have bought all you wanted for sub $1. Now $7. And this chart, unlike our previous name, it had a lot of fits and starts. This thing has been pretty much straight up, except for the last few months here. So by, let's see, 61 cents in November. By December 4th, was trading about $2. So it had a nice pop in December. My goodness. Then I hung out there for a while, $2 until late January. And on the 29th, it popped from $1.77 all the way up to $3.33 by February 2nd. So, man, another nice pop. Got up to nearly $4 by March 1st. Kind of hovered in that $3.50 to $4 range for a while. Then by April, took its next leg up. And then actually looks like by May, late May into June, got up to almost $6. Guess which day, listeners? June 8th. $5.97 was its near-term high. Then it sold off a bit again. Then it kind of hovered there again. Then it had hovered in that, $5 to $6 range for the next couple of months, all the way through till the end of August. And then August 20th, it took its next aggressive leg up. Went from 566 up to its 52-week high of 11 1/4, right in early September. So this thing was looking rich. Then it kind of gave it all up immediately, got back down by September 20th, down to 737. Then it tried to fight it back up again, and it got all the way up to 924 again in just a little less than a month ago, October 4th. And then ever since then, it's kind of been on the long slide. It's got down to where it is right now. It actually was trading 663 on Friday. Today has a nice little pop going on out here. But other than that, so it's been kind of mostly downside ever since, up 41 cents or 6.2% today. Let's see what our Eye of Sauron finds. Given this recent move, you might think, hey, someone's swinging for the upside and calls or something. Nope. What we got instead is someone drawing a pretty long-term line in the sand. We don't usually see them this long-term. Someone coming in today and blasting away, I like this strike too, on the Jan 3 puts. Yes, the $3 puts. They sold 8,000 of these things for 51 cents. By the way, this market, just an atrocity. 20 cents at $1.35. Oh, I love these markets. I think we could probably reasonably intuit that they maybe sold those, but again, this market is kind of a bit of a crapshoot. We have no idea. The vol, if you are wondering, listeners, 95.4 out there. So that's a pretty juicy bad boy. The ATVI out here, 3,400 contracts. So this is almost 3x that just in one print out here. The stock was pretty much right here when it went up. Obviously, there are earnings between now and January of 2023. The next announcement is late November 22nd. So, Mr. Meatball, what are your thoughts on these long-term puts, this atrocious market? Do you think this guy was probably selling them? 51 cents for the 3 puts is interesting. What are your thoughts on these, sir?
It's a lot of juice for a $3.
That is a lot of juice.
Strike.
I was thinking the exact same thing. That's a ton of juice. 3 put for 50 cents? Yeah, I might do that. I might sell those.
Yeah, no, I think that was a sale, and yeah, the market was really wide, so that's why they went with the auction. Way out of the money. Someone willing to take delivery or pick up a nice 20% yield on selling these puts. I don't hate it.
Yeah, you should call up your desk and see if there's more there you could sell yourself, sir, because I got a feeling these have to be facilitated, I would think. But yeah, I think you could do a lot between $7 where it's trading right now and $3 to hedge this thing. Yeah, if you can get them, listeners, go on out there. Jan 2023 puts for 51 cents. My goodness, I think this broker has a little bit of pull out here. I don't think Joe Average can get them. I'll have to go look. I'll have to put this market now and see if they're a little tighter. Maybe crazier stuff has happened. 51 cents for a $3 put. Wow, that's interesting. As we keep on rolling, let's do one more really quickly, and it's time for Uncle Mike. Actually, you know what? We're kind of coming up against it, so let's save this. We were going to review trade from September 20th. We'll save it, and instead, let's keep on rolling. It is time to unleash the uncleest of Mikes. It is time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for The Strategy Block.
Now our chat's all going on about Options Insider Coin. They want that in their boxes. Okay, from your lips to the crypto god's ears. How about that? We'll make that happen one of these days, and we'll have an Options Insider Coin just for you folks. But until that day, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, folks will have to be content with your weekly dose of strategery. What do you have in store for them, sir?
I want to talk about today, as interesting as it would be to have an Options Insider Coin.
I was just going to say, how much Options Insider? I know you hate crypto, but how much Options Insider Coin would you buy? You know, you'd be just gobbling up all day, right?
I'd want to be on the ground floor of that one. I would ease my crypto ban if we came out with an Options Insider.
I think we could make something happen for hosts on the network, an early access to the ICO, if you will. What do you think?
Oh, very good. I'm in.
Now I'm getting excited here. All right, let me go make some calls while you're doing this, sir.
Sounds good. So what I wanted to go through today is that why would you hedge with a VIX option, or why would you use a VIX call to hedge a stock portfolio as opposed to an S&P put? It's a question that comes up a lot, and I'm not against using volatility as a hedge, but I think it's just important that you understand it's not a true hedge. So let's start by why are they attracted to using VIX calls to hedge a stock portfolio? Well, the concept is if we have an inverse relationship between stocks and implied volatility, then implied volatility will go higher and as stocks go lower. And so with that, you can buy VIX calls, and if that relationship maintains its way of doing things, then you have that in place. Now, what attracts people to that, overdoing just buying puts on the S&P 500, would be along the lines of the fact that when the market does tank, the VIX goes up very significantly. And by doing that, then you can actually buy protection cheaper by buying VIX calls as opposed to S&P puts. And that's the concept behind it from a 10,000-foot view. Now, with that, I think it's okay to have that as some type of a pairing strategy, perhaps, or as something with which you do in your portfolio. If you're a VIX person or you have a VIX person like Sebastian trading for you. But I want to say today just the importance of understanding that if you use this as a true hedge, it's not a true hedge. And the analogy that I like to use is if you're buying VIX calls to hedge your S&P 500 stocks, then it's like buying homeowners insurance to protect your car. I really believe that. Now, is it possible to do that? Are there inverse movements? Are there ways in which to do it? Yes. But is it a true hedge? No, it is not. And here's the reason for it. There is no law on the books that says that when the market goes down, that the VIX is going to go up. It's not guaranteed. And so I maintain that if you are going to do a hedge, meaning a true hedge, not something to where you're trying to use this to have a section of your money to where you're trying to pair the S&P with a VIX, or you're trying to do this, that, or the other. If you're trying to do a true hedge, meaning buy insurance, I believe that you need to use options on the underlying with which you're trying to hedge. So let's say, as an example, I have a portfolio of S&P stocks. And let's just assume, for sake of an easy example, that they match and they are exactly what the S&P 500 is made up of. Or I own an index fund, or I own SPY, whatever the case may be. If your underlyings go down, then the value of your puts will go up, assuming you have them go down far enough before time decay takes its place and that type of thing. And you actually have a hedge in place. So that's the advantage of doing that, is that you know that that's going to happen. Now, I'm not referring to if, let's say, you bought some out of the money puts and then time decay happens before the far out of the money puts can get anywhere close, or you have a vol drop or something like that. I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about if you actually have something that is close to the money, or even in the money for that matter. If the market goes down, those puts will go up ultimately. Now, with that being said, what if the put options are too expensive for you at this point in time? Well, if that's the case, then I would maintain that you may want to consider looking into spreads, perhaps buy a put spread. And maybe let's say that you have enough of a portfolio to where you can buy 10 puts on the on SPY is what you're going to need as a hedge. Well, if that's the case, what you can do is perhaps have maybe 3 or 4 as put spreads, maybe 1 or 2 as just straight long puts, and then maybe a couple as further out of the money puts to have different levels of hedges for different things. That's another thing with which you can do if you want to manage your costs in some way, shape, or form. But what I want to make sure that everyone has an understanding of is that VIX and the S&P do not have a guaranteed, and I want to emphasize the word guaranteed, inverse relationship. A lot of times it does happen, but understand if you're hedging your nest egg, meaning the money that you're going to need to live on the rest of your life, I don't think it's wise to use VIX as a hedge for that. And that is the strategy block for today.
All right, it is time to keep on rolling. It is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, really quickly before we go around the block, let's pay off some of our recent questions we've been asking you guys lately. We asked you guys last week, do you guys feel skew is a good leading indicator for the future price action in the underlying? And 57.1% of you said no. That's surprising to me. I thought more of you would be down with skew. Interesting. 42.9% saying yes, you rely on it in your trading. And that's it. No one said I prefer something else. That's weird. Usually we give you that out and people write in with some weird indicator that they prefer, but no one. It was straight yes or no on skew last week, which is interesting. We also put out a quick flash poll during all the heat and frenzy around these nanos by SEBO. We asked you, hey, are you guys interested in these things, these options on a single share of stock? Do you plan to trade them when they launch sometime next year? And once again, pretty demonstrative pretty definitive, really, our audience here. 64.3%, so nearly 2/3 saying no. And only 35.7% saying yes. Again, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I should say. Shame on me. I think our audience is falling into that latter category, even though I know a healthy percentage of you were not around for the listing of the previous minis. Maybe you've been listening to the network a bit. You know what we've said about them in the past. Either way, a lot of you are kind of play the wait and see game. Let's see how these spreads shape up first. Let's see how the commissions shape up before you dive into all things nano. SEBO's all fired up about these, so we'll see if we can get them on the network to explain why they want to do these and give you some more insight into them. Look for that soon. Meanwhile, let's go around the horn. Let's start with the greasiest of meatballs. Mr. Meatball, sir, has your viewpoint on nanos changed since we last chatted about it? You still kind of wait and see. And then B, aside from the nanos, what else are you keeping an eye on this week, sir?
Yeah, those nanos are, I'm really interested to see what the SEBO claims is the use case for them. And for us, then what I'm watching, we got non-farms, we got a ton of earnings, and we've got an FOMC meeting. So there's a lot on the plate this week.
There is a lot on the plate. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir. Oh, I forgot our question of the week this week. I got distracted. Our question of the week this week just went live before showtime. We thought, we had Undertaker at the top of the show. It's still spooky season. It's always spooky season here on the network. But we said, in honor of Halloween, what do you feel is the, quote, most terrifying options strategy? What's the one that kind of, when you see it, it kind of chills your blood and makes you say, ooh, and get a little bit spooked? Or maybe you think it's the most spooky for other people out there. And we gave you 4 suggestions: straddles, iron condors, time spreads, or getting a little bit esoteric, conversions or reversals. That one spooks a lot of people. Don't know what the heck we're talking about, or maybe you have your own suggestion. Hit us up. Reply DM with your suggestion. So far right now, as I kind of suspected, time spreads. Those are the ones that make the hairs on your back of your neck stand up. 38.5%, followed by 23% for condors. 23% as well, a tie for condors and conversion reversals. Interesting. And only 15.4% for straddles. But again, the poll is young. We'll come back on Thursday with some more evolved thoughts on it. You can find it for yourselves. At Options is the place to go to vote, listeners. All right, Mr. Uncle Mike, sir. What is on your radar for the rest of the week, sir?
Well, of course, watching the Fed this week, I think that's going to be something big. I'll watch non-farm like I always do, but I think the Fed's going to be the big story of this week. And then seeing if we can continue to make some new all-time highs. And if we do, seeing if the 10-year is going to stabilize where it has been the last couple of weeks.
All right, everybody. That music means we've come to the end of this leg of our options-oriented journey. But don't worry, don't despair. If you're listening live, I know you're in there, Nichols. You're excited for your Pro Crate and everyone else. You take a little break. We have to rejigger because we have some guests coming on to join us on the Crypto Rundown. That'll be in about exactly an hour to break down all the craziness going on in the world of crypto. What's up with Bitcoin and ETH and Doge and Shiba, all this other crazy stuff. We're going to get into all of that with some great guests in the hot seat coming up in about exactly an hour. But before we do that, let's go back around the horn. Mr. Meatball, if folks want to hit you up, they want to talk about your neighbor, the Undertaker, or perhaps about the Gamdar, where should they go? What should they do?
Yeah, go to optionpit.com and read our blog every day. It's worth a read. You're going to be happy you did. We read about the VIX. We read about trading, all kinds of stuff to help you make money. Optionpit.com. Sign up for those amazing email letters that we put out.
Did you go trick-or-treating in the Undertaker's house? That would have been pretty fun. I bet you he puts out a pretty cool display, I would have to think.
I bet you he does, but he does not live in my neighborhood.
Oh, I thought you were neighbors. I thought you were neighbors with Taker, just hanging out, having barbecues, but, there we go. Conjuring cool images in my head. Check it out for yourselves, listeners. Optionpit.com is the place to go. And I know he's not neighbors with Taker. I mean, he's got a cool neighbor nonetheless. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, do you have any cool neighbors? And B, where should folks go to find out more about them?
I have some of the best neighbors you can ask for. I got a handyman, Phil. He'll fix anything. And I love my neighbors. But anyway, if you want to learn more about what I do as a financial advisor, feel free to visit my website, stcharleswealth.com. If you're looking for a financial advisor that's in the option space, it's kind of a unique thing. You don't see a lot of us out there. And if you would like to learn more about some of the content that I put out, feel free to follow me on Twitter at Mike TOSAW, TOSAW.
At Mike TOSAW. Hit him up. Ask him about his neighbors. He'll talk to you about him for ages. Or maybe about, Cactus Jack and all of his Mick Foley Love Every Taker. He'll do it all. Also got some fun videos coming from the Uncleist of Mike's there. So if you want to see more of him in person, at least from a video form, stay tuned for that. Should be fun. In the meantime, St. Charles Wealth is the place to go to learn more. And we got to go on out of here, but we'll be back, like I said, exactly an hour for you folks listening live. Listening after the fact, just hit next on your device of choice. We'll be there waiting for you. We're like that beloved puppy, always there waiting for you when you come home. And we'll see you back here tomorrow. Awesome Pro Q&A for all of you folks out there. Also doing boot camp this week on an earlier day. Mr. Dan has to travel hither and yon, so we're going to do him a little bit earlier this week as well. Wednesday, no live boot camp will be on Tuesday this week. And then, of course, back on Thursday, another episode of The Option Block. We'll see you then.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.